Hello, and welcome back to the studio. I'm Dr. Wigo, and today we're going to be talking about the configurations of the new MacBook Pros and which one I bought. First, I'm going to tell you why I decided to buy one of these things in the first place. My rationalizations, not my impulsive reasons. And then I'll run through the configurations, and there's some interesting stuff in there. And then I will tell you which configuration I went with and why you might want to go with that or with another one. I'll explain my reasoning as we go. So why did I buy this? You know, it's me. I watched an Apple event, they had something new and shiny, waved it in front of me. But that's not the only reason. If you go back and watch my video here about why I was disappointed with my MacBook Air, in that video, I said I really should have bought a MacBook Pro, but of course at this point it was too late to buy a MacBook Pro because I have an M2, and in that video I actually said for the M3 or maybe even the M4. Now, you know me, I won't be able to wait that long, and I didn't. When they brought the M3 Max, like last week, I ordered one. How did I rationalize this to my clearly not penny pinching self? Remember, I got the MacBook Air because I wanted to have a mobile editing station that I could take with me on the road. Yeah, I know, I may never go on the road, but we can dream. When I tested it out, did a little editing with DaVinci Resolve, my rendering took twice as long as it did on the PC with a 3090. So I said, well, that's a little slow. Well, guess what? The M3 Pro and the M3 Max are way faster than this little guy. So I decided, well, I'll upgrade. I'll keep this guy because he's a good little guy because he's very portable and like I'm using him right now. It would be way overkill to use a MacBook Pro to read notes off of, but it's perfect for the MacBook Air. And then my MacBook Pro will be my editing machine and whatnot. Well, let's just dive right into it. So I'm on the Apple website and we'll go to order now. And the first thing you'll see is you have to pick the screen size. The 16-inch costs $300 more than the 14-inch, all other things being equal. So you're paying a $300 premium to get the larger screen. $300 doesn't seem that out of line compared to memory and SSD prices, but we'll talk about that in a minute. That's reasonable. But there's a 14-inch exclusive, the M3. So the M3 with the 8-core CPU and the 10-core GPU and 8 gigabytes of unified memory, 8 gigabytes, and 512 gigabytes of SSD, also not ideal, is only $15.99. Notice on the page, Apple immediately says, well, you know, maybe you want to spend an extra $200 and get a 1 terabyte SSD. Yeah, you probably do. You can up the memory from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes, which is probably something you may want to do. And you can upgrade the SSD, which again, I would pretty much immediately hit that and that, except now we're at $19.99. And this is going to become important when we get to the M3 Pro models. There's an M3 Pro model that just for a little more money, you get quite a bit more. Stay tuned. We'll be there in a minute. And of course, if you max the baby out with 24 gigabytes of unified memory, 2 terabytes of SSD storage, you can see we're up to $25.99, which is a little pricey. In my video last week, I said I don't really think anybody should probably buy this, and I'm going to show you why when we get to this next step, which is the M3 Pro has a 14-inch exclusive model, a chip that's not available. This goes back to what I talked about in last week's video and the Snazzy Labs, which I will link down below again. The Snazzy Labs deep dive about the process and how they ended up with something. Well, this is one of those weird SKUs they ended up with, which is an 11-core CPU and a 14-core GPU with 18 gigabytes of unified memory right away. See, the M3 version, you needed to upgrade, probably needed to upgrade to 16 gig. Well, this comes with 18 gigs, so it's 2 extra gig. And if you look at that price, it's $19.99. That's with 512 gigabyte SSD, but that's what you get on the $1,600 M3 version. So you get more cores, more GPU cores, more than double the memory for $400. Again, if you're thinking about the M3 version, I'm thinking this is almost a no-brainer. Now, yes, I know $400 is a lot of money, but you get a lot for it. You're going to have more processor cores, you're going to have more GPU cores, it's going to run faster. I think it's just a better buy. If you're looking at a 14-inch, this might be your guy. 3 more CPU cores, 4 more GPU cores, 10 more gigabytes of memory, more than double the memory, same SSD size, $400 premium. That seems like a fair premium, unlike most of Apple's premiums, which we'll talk about. Because again, as soon as you upgrade the SSD, you're going to be up to $21.99, which, by the way, is about what I paid for this guy. If these had been out when the MacBook Air came out, I wouldn't have bought this. I probably would have gotten this one going for cheap. Well, I wouldn't have gotten this one. Well, we'll talk about that at the end. If you max this guy out, we can go up to 36 gigabytes of memory, and we can go up to a 4 terabyte SSD, and now we're at $35.99. $19.99, $35.99. Most of that is the SSD. Let me join the chorus of pretty much every video I've ever seen talking about how ridiculous Apple's SSD upgrade prices are. I can kind of cut them some slack on the memory, because the memory is actually on the chip. So I can kind of cut them some slack on the price of the unified memory. These SSD prices, Apple, lighten up on us. We're already giving you thousands and thousands of dollars. Don't nickel and dime us on a little bit of storage, because that's really what you need to make these things relatively useful. So yeah, $35.99. Now the normal 14-inch MacBook Pro has the 12-core processor, 18-core GPU, 18 gigabytes of memory, one terabyte of, see, they've gone up, for $23.99. If you max this one out, 4 terabytes, you get to $37.99. These things are pricey, mainly because of the damn memory and SSD. Well, I'm not. Flip back. You can watch me complain about that a minute ago. This one, you can get this exact configuration in the 16-inch. You can't get that weird processor with the odd number of cores, that particular M3 Pro. That's only for the 14-inch. As you can see, the 12-core, 18-core GPU, 18 gigs of unified memory, $24.99. That's that $300 delta. You go, wait, this is $24.99, and the 14-inch was $23.99, so this is only $100 more. Yeah, but that had the 1 terabyte SSD, so you take off that $200, and you're back to the $300 differential, which is what you pay over the 14-inch for the 16-inch. So this is not a bargain. To quote Greg's Gadgets, don't be fooled. So if we max this out with the 36 gigabytes of memory and the 4 terabyte, we're up to $4,099, which is exactly $300 more than the 14-inch maxed out. So yeah, these they're the same, with the difference being the $300 for the bigger screen. But those aren't the fun ones. The fun one is the M3 Max. So we come over here we go. 14-core CPU, 30-core GPU, 36 gigabytes of unified memory, and a terabyte drive, $31.99. And that same configuration in the 16-inch, $34.99, $300 difference. If you max this baby out, you probably don't want to see these numbers. Cover your eyes. If you go to 96 gigabytes is $800 to up the memory. Now you can go to an 8 terabyte SSD, well, for about $2,200. And that takes you to $61.99 for the 14-inch and $64.99 for the 16-inch. So again, $300 difference. But where it really gets expensive, so we go to the M3 Max. Now again, this one has the 2 different processors, 14-core CPU, 30-core GPU, or the 16-core CPU, again, the most they've ever done, and 12 of those are P-cores, and a 40-core GPU. But if we take the base model here with the 14-core CPU, 30-core GPU, so we go to the 16-core CPU, which again, 12 of those are P-cores, and a 40-core GPU. This one comes with 48 gigs of unified memory and a 1 terabyte SSD, which again is $36.99, $39.99 for the 16-inch. Now, a much more, I think, likely configuration, if you're buying a processor this powerful, you might want to step up to the 64 gig of memory, because that's only $200, and you're already paying, thousands. You're up near $4,000 already, so another $200 not so much. And you might want to bump up the SSD to 2 terabytes, and that's going to be $42.99 for the 14-inch and $45.99 for the 16-inch. Guess what? This is the one. This is what I ordered, because when I bumped it up to 128 gig of And then if you go on up to the 8 terabyte, well, now we're up to $68.99 for the 14-inch and $71.99 for the 16-inch. The price is too damn high. Now, admittedly, this is a configuration, well, the 8 terabytes of SSD I kind of like, but I'm not paying thousands of dollars for an SSD. Not when I have my handy dandy little enclosures with SSDs in them. So this is 2 terabytes that only cost me $200. And this one's two terabytes that only cost me $120. Now it's slow, but for storage and stuff, yeah. So you can get more SSDs, a lot cheaper, external SSDs. Remember, the MacBook Pros have 3 Thunderbolt ports, Thunderbolt 4. So lots of SSDs hanging off of it. It's not going to be a problem. So 64 gigabytes of unified memory, 2 terabyte storage, $45.99. This is the one I bought. And it will be here later this week. I'm shooting for the unboxing of my new MacBook Pro for next week. So that's what I ordered. A 16-core CPU, 40-core GPU with 64 gig and 2 terabytes of SSD storage for $45.99. Oh, plus tax, plus Apple Care, so closer to $5,500 when you add all this stuff. We have high taxes here. I think it's going to be worth it, but we won't know. We'll find out. Well, we'll start finding out next week when I unbox it and start setting it up. And then, of course, down the road, there'll be reviews. And, well, for this kind of money, I need to get a lot of content out of this little baby. So I'll be finding all sorts of things to do on my MacBook Pro so I can amortize the cost. That's kind of all I have. I basically said this video that I would buy the M3 MacBook Pro. Well, I'm buying the M3 MacBook Pro. I'm a man of my word. Before we go, I want to give myself a little pat on the back. I did not order it right away. I actually sat there and configured and looked at them and thought about it for hours. But I spent at least 3 hours thinking about it and working through and which of my other pockets was I going to steal the money from. Yeah, well, I don't need that new deck. Well, I do, but it'll wait. So that's my overview of the configurations of the new MacBook Pros and the one I'm ordering. I think I'm going to be happy. I thought I was going to be happy with the 15-inch MacBook Air. Well, I am. It's fine. It's a good little computer. I like it. But I have a feeling I'm going to love my M3 Max MacBook Pro. At least I'm hoping, because I'm dropping a lot of bucks on it. Thanks for stopping by. Next week, unboxing, we hope. I'm all excited. I'm still exuberant because I'm getting one of these soon, this week. So come back next week and we'll unbox one and start having fun with it. And then we'll go from there. So thanks for stopping by. What do I usually say at the end? So thanks for stopping by. I can't remember what I usually say. Don't I have a catchphrase? I remembered. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time. Bye-bye. Yeah, and then I wave behind the thing. See, it's coming back to me. And then thanks for staying to the end. Goodbye-bye.